Hey everyone, and welcome to Top Think. Today we'll learn about 14 interesting psychological facts about human behavior. Now, let's begin. The world is full of different people from different places who observe different cultures, value different ideas, and follow different paths. No matter how different we seem, at the core of our being we have a tremendous amount in common. We share physical characteristics, of course, like one head, 2 eyes, 10 fingers, and just as many toes. But we're also bound by psychological similarities. Even if we live on opposite sides of the world, we all share common behaviors that affect the choices we make, the people we like, and the goals we pursue. Yet few people understand the psychological roots of our shared humanity. Some of the most human behaviors are routinely ignored and dismissed, leading some people to ultimately defy human nature. For example, if you analyze common social norms, you might discover that our society is structured around huge misconceptions about how real humans think, feel, and work. With that in mind, let's dive into 14 interesting and sometimes surprising facts about the very behaviors that make us human. Number 1. The work paradox. Does money make us more or less motivated to perform at our best? Now, you might think a big paycheck will motivate you to excel at your job, but the opposite is more often true. People tend to work harder on projects when they're not paid enough, or anything at all. In other words, as strange as it sounds, earning a paycheck may ultimately decrease your motivation. Why? Well, because your intentions have changed. When you accept payment for something, it's no longer a passion project. It becomes something that you do for the money, and that makes it far less intrinsically motivating. Even though you might be hoping for a big payoff, the best things you do in life won't earn you a penny. Number 2. The downside of preparation. Before facing a challenge, many people like to prepare a backup plan, a plan A, and a plan B. You prep as much as possible so that you stand the best chance of succeeding. But what if your backup plan is actually hurting your chances of success? It turns out your plan A is more likely to fail if you spend time preparing another option. And here's why. Making a plan B entertains the possibility that plan A will not work. And when that happens, your confidence in the first plan starts to decline, and that makes you more likely to fail. As strange as it sounds, being prepared doesn't always work in your favor. Number 3. Unnatural violence. Many people think humans are violent by nature, that we're somehow programmed to hurt, fight, and claim victory over other creatures. But a closer examination of human psychology reveals humans are actually programmed not to be violent toward one another, but to experience a powerful emotion called empathy. Some of the best evidence for this idea comes directly from your brain, where structures called mirror neurons allow you to understand other people's behaviors. Mirror neurons play an important role in advanced cognitive abilities, like the use of language, and explains the human brain's incredible capacity for emotion. It's easy to look at all the violence in the world and think poorly of humankind, but remember, caring for other people is a part of who we are. Number 4. The language of expressions. There are hundreds of languages in the world today, spoken by all kinds of people around the world, but there's one language that almost every single person knows and understands. The only universal language on the planet is the language of expressions. No matter where someone is from or how they were raised, a smile or a frown sends a message that we can all understand. The language of expressions hardly varies across cultures and social groups. Why? Well, because human expressions are ingrained within our psychology. Number 5. Self-replicating emotions. Most of the time, human emotions are self-replicating. In other words, happy people tend to make happy choices, while lonely and miserable people behave in a way that represents their negative state of mind. Now, of course, we're simplifying the issue here, but it's important to remember how your actions influence your view of the world. Happiness creates happiness, and misery, well, it creates misery. spread any emotion into the world, and the world will deliver the same emotion back to you. Number 6. The evolution of psychology. Now, you may not realize it, but your behaviors, preferences, and instincts are all evolutionary adaptations designed to give you an advantage of some kind in your current environment. When you hear the word adaptation, you might think about physical qualities like giraffes evolving longer necks to eat from the tallest trees. But many of the things that you do every day are products of the same evolutionary process. In other words, what we call human behaviors actually evolved over millions of years, allowing humans to become the successful species that we are today. Number 7. Unconscious healing. Your body is an incredibly complex system, yet many of the things you do every day are designed to make you unhealthy. It's become more and more acceptable in our society to sacrifice physical health in favor of professional, financial, or social advantages. For example, you might work hours into the night, ruining your eyesight and damaging your posture just to get ahead in the workplace. Lucky for us, our bodies have incredible self-healing capabilities. Natural repair mechanisms are constantly working to fix and undo the damage that you do to yourself every day. And your brain controls, streamlines, and oversees it all. Now, of course, almost every one of these processes happens unconsciously. We take these systems for granted because we don't see, hear, or feel them. But without them, our self-destructive choices would destroy us in no time. Number 8. Out-group homogeneity. Humans have an exceptional ability to distinguish between members of our social groups, but we often struggle to identify more diverse characteristics. Thanks to a psychological phenomenon called out-group homogeneity, we have trouble distinguishing between less familiar faces. As you gain more experience with a larger variety of traits, you become more perceptive and observant. But until then, a large group of people may look very similar in your eyes. Now, this is not something anybody wants to hear and may be considered offensive in certain contexts, but it's a common psychological bias and a surprising fact of human behavior. Number 9. Music alters perception. Your favorite playlist changes how you perceive the world. Studies have shown that music strongly influences unconscious perceptions of the world around us. While the same songs don't affect everyone in the same way, the act of listening to music is known to radically cause fluctuations in mood, changes in perspective, and even psychological biases. Just think of the music that you listen to each day. What genres do you like? What musicians do you find the most impactful? Even if you hardly pay attention to the music you listen to, each of those songs influences how you interact with the world. Number 10. Understanding evil. What does it mean for someone to be evil? The term evil is often tied to specific people. We look at someone's history of immoral behavior and treat that person as if they're rotten to their core. But that's rarely how it works. Instead, evil behavior is usually created by destructive environmental influences rather than innately evil dispositions. Now, this doesn't give anyone an excuse to do evil things, but it's important to consider where evil comes from before we can understand why it exists. Number 11. The lie detector. Are you a good liar? Many people think that they're convincing liars, but here's the truth. You're probably not a good liar. Other people just don't know what lying looks or sounds like. In other words, bad liars don't know when they're being lied to. So unless you've been specially trained or have a lot of experience manipulating other people, you're probably not as good of a liar as you think. Number 12. Anxiety is good. In recent years, anxiety has moved to the forefront of modern psychology. People have become more aware of what anxiety looks and feels like, and we've begun acknowledging the role anxiety plays in our lives. But anxiety isn't always a bad thing. It's often framed as an illness to be cured, but anxiety is an important psychological adaptation which gives humans an edge over other creatures. At its roots, anxiety protects us from danger and motivates forward-thinking behavior, helping us make safe and intelligent decisions. Anxiety can indeed be a problem for many people. If left unchecked or neglected, anxiety can even be paralyzing. But if managed in a healthy way, your anxiety gives you a greater advantage than you realize. Number 13. Healthy sarcasm. Are you a sarcastic person? Sarcasm is often criticized as negative or insulting, but the use of sarcasm can be a good thing. Being sarcastic shows that you're alert, attentive, and quick on your feet. Any kind of humor, even the cynical kind, also displays a high level of intelligence, proving that your brain is working at its best. Now, it's not always fun to be on the receiving end of a sarcastic remark, but at least you know your brain is working as it should. Number 14. Moody styles. Without realizing it, most people use clothing to communicate how they're feeling. Someone who's happy might wear brighter, lighter, and more textural clothing. On the other hand, if someone is having a bad day, they may choose something darker, baggier, or more comfortable. Even if someone is trying to hide their mood or feelings, their clothes usually give away more than they think. So pay attention to the way people dress on a daily basis. If you can pick up subtle changes in their style, then you may discover a window into their real thoughts and feelings. Hey, thank you for watching Top Think, and be sure to subscribe because more incredible content is on the way.